Hello, everybody. So my name is Kelly Doyle, and I am the Grants and Resources Manager for Partnerships for Parks. This webinar is for the 2022 Green Fund Crowdfunding Challenge through ioby. This is an exciting opportunity for you as Green Fund grantees to do additional fundraising to accomplish the projects you're hoping to do in your parks. We wanted to communicate this information to you as quickly as possible, so we decided a pre-recorded webinar would help. Of course, we are available for any questions, and the Green Fund email is listed at the end of this presentation. My name is Kelly Doyle. I'm Grants and Resources Manager for Partnerships for Parks. I manage the administration of the Green Fund grants for grassroots groups and will be working with you as you apply for this Green Fund crowdfunding challenge. Some of you may have already been a part of this crowdfunding challenge in the past. Thus, you probably know Miriam, my colleague from ioby, who is also leading this presentation, but I'll pass it over to her so she can introduce herself.
Hey y'all, my name's Miriam. I'm with ioby.org, stands for In Our Backyards, because we believe that neighbors know what's best for their own neighborhood. And so we collaborate to raise resources, donations, and volunteers. We're teachers to raise resources for projects in your own backyard.
So Partnerships for Parks is a public-private partnership between the New York City Parks Department and the nonprofit City Parks Foundation. We work to support volunteer groups as they work to care for their neighborhood parks and green spaces. So we do that in a variety of ways. In addition to just having grants, we also provide resources, including helping volunteers to do beautification projects, aka volunteer projects. We help connect groups to the Parks Department through our outreach program. We provide free webinar trainings. We provide community coaching for groups who are looking for particular help with just growing their capacity as groups caring for their neighborhood park. So we really try to provide any resources that you may need in order to take care of your park. And here's just a look at some of those groups that we work with. So we do work in all 5 boroughs. You know, we have examples of some really excellent groups here. Some of you may be on this slide, your logos. I see a few that have received some Green Fund grants in the past and have done some crowdfunding. So thank you so much for all of your great work.
Hi, everyone. So at In Our Backyards, we are a crowdfunding website where you have a page, it's nonprofit, you gather donations, you gather volunteers, but our collaboration with you is as a teacher. And so you get a one-on-one crowdfunding coach, supportive emails with guidance, steps, tips, but it's all about learning the skill of asking our people to step up with us and make it happen in our own backyards. So we're collaborating with PFP here to double your donations. We'll hear more about that, but we're here to teach you how to raise those donations so that they can be doubled.
Just to look at what we are covering in this recording. So, you know, today we will discuss crowdfunding and match funding. You know, what are these fundraising tools? Then we'll discuss crowdfunding with ioby and through the Green Fund and fundraising tips that Miriam has to share with you, as well as discussing your eligibility for applying for the Green Fund crowdfunding challenge, how you apply, and answering some frequently asked questions that we've received during this process. And of course, our contact information at the end. And so first off, what is crowdfunding? So crowdfunding, basic definition, is a way of raising money in small amounts from a large number of people, usually online. So just want to throw that out there, first thing first. And then here is a look. So crowdfunding as that way of raising small amounts from a large number of people. Just wanted to put this slide up here. It's actually, we took some pictures from what an actual ioby crowdfunding challenge has looked like, where you ask for these small donations from people. And, you know, with enough of those, with enough fundraising work, you can really make a significant amount of fundraising. You know, it's possible for you to do. So, you know, this is a really great way to fundraise.
So match funding with ioby is instant doubling of your donations up to a certain amount per donor, because we want to keep in the spirit of crowdfunding. You can't just get one or two big donors and be done. So we teach you how to raise donations. They're matched instantly as people give to your crowdfunding campaign, your page, but people can give by check. They can mail checks to us, and those just take a little extra time with the mail to get processed, but those are also doubled. Oh, so here's just a quick example. If someone gives 200, 200, 200, so you have 3 donors at 200 each for 600, you'll see the additional 600 for a total of 1,200 on your ioby crowdfunding page. So the match funds that you win are already won on your crowdfunding goal.
And so basically, with this NYC Green Fund crowdfunding challenge, we're supporting those crowdfunding campaigns for grassroots organizations like yourselves and provide up to 2,500 in match funding to groups that we approve to do these crowdfunding challenge projects. So with the NYC Green Fund crowdfunding challenge, donations you receive will be doubled instantly, so you move toward your goal twice as fast. So if someone donates 25 bucks, your page will reflect a donation of $50. So this is hosted through ioby's online crowdfunding campaign platform. So it's Green Fund through ioby. Just want to make sure that that is clear. And it's crowdfunding where your money gets doubled.
Wonderful. So we're going to talk a little bit about ioby here. We are 15 years old. We're founded in self-determination. Neighbors know what's best for their own neighborhood to build a thriving future together. And so the reason we teach crowdfunding is that it brings together our existing people power, our existing resources to urgently respond to what we want to do in our own backyards. For some of us out there, we might remember NIMBY, not in my backyard. So we were named for the opposite of that. Wonderful. So how it works with ioby is you have a great idea for your community, you share that idea, that project, nonprofit program. Hey, I just want to do like a festival. We share that with ioby. We teach how to crowdfund step by step, but with lots of options. It's a menu. You choose what works, what's comfortable for you. Your donors give to your ioby page, just like GoFundMe, but we've been around a lot longer and we're a nonprofit. You fundraise with our support. If you get stuck, we help you get unstuck, because there's a lot of donor activation strategy out there. Nowadays it's called crowdfunding, but humans have been gathering resources forever to all pitch into what we want to do. So there's a lot of strategy to choose from. When you reach your goal, you get your money through a nonprofit fiscal sponsor, and we'll talk about that more, but you get your money to go do your project. And then there's like a 3-question quick report back to ioby. It's not a grant report, it's small. So the value in crowdfunding is that it's flexible, unrestricted funding. You decide your budget, you decide how to adapt to what your community needs with the project. So say like, we thought we needed this, but then we got that donated from a small business. And so now we're going to use our money for XYZ. You're in charge. That's the value of crowdfunding money. It's your money from your donors, and we teach you how to find and activate those donors. Because you're activating so many donors in your own backyard, you're gathering community support for your park, for the next phase of your park. We also see a lot of intergenerational support. And so I've been on a lot of teams where we see the same 10 volunteers every month. This is a way to gather more and more people into your project, even if they don't have the time to be on your regular volunteer team. And sometimes you need to demonstrate public support so that your local government or your zoning agency or your permit agency, so that they can see like, this is safe, this is valuable, the community already is behind it, and you can try to move things forward with some public support. But the main thing is that crowdfunding can happen many times throughout a year. We often see 2 or 3 crowdfunding campaigns in a year, which is going beyond your annual giving campaign, which often happens at the end of the year this time. And so donor engagement throughout the year allows you to keep those that best practice where donors are continually getting an opportunity to be a part of your work, getting celebrated and thanked. They love that thank you, and that quick turnaround on your money turned into this thing. $5,000 for a small project, but you saw your money make an impact in your own backyard, that continual donor engagement increases the participation in your annual giving and in your successive crowdfunding campaigns. And so we see this always as you're crowdfunding with us now, but you're going to keep crowdfunding over and over again with us or without us. And so come learn the skill. Wonderful. So we're going to talk about 5 quick crowdfunding tips so that you get a little bit of our curriculum today. We have a lot more. This is just 101, really quick, 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll pass it back to Kelly to talk about how you can apply to this funding opportunity where you get approved, you crowdfund with us while we're teaching you, and your donations are doubled along the way. So first, we're going to talk about teamwork, then your prospect chart, which is how you identify your donors. It's the most critical step if you learn nothing else from today. How to be specific in asking your donors. What do you do with no's? There's going to be a lot of no's. That's part of the process. And then how this is founded in relational organizing. So we're going to talk about 4 marketing steps that are pretty close to community organizing for those who are in that, but it's really just how to talk to people. And then we'll do a bonus slide about the truth about social media, because it's really critical for making your campaign work. Thanks so much. So first, teams are far more likely to reach their goals. So even if you double yourself from 1-person to 2-person teams, that your 2-person team is far more likely to reach your crowdfunding goal. So get at least 1 friend, 1 volunteer, 1 teammate at your garden or park project. We have seen that teams raise money 6 times faster. And so it really is just even 1 more friend. The reason that donors give is also based on your team. People give to the person who's asking. So for example, I always say, my brother's not going to say no to me, right? So he's on my first donor list. My very best friends, they're my first people I ask. You make a list of the people who cannot say no to you, and then you go out to more of your list, which we'll talk about next. But people give because of who's asking them. They give because they love the place. So like I said, not everyone can give volunteer time, but they could give $30, that gets doubled to $60. And so find the people who love your park, love your neighborhood, which might mean setting up in your park and talking to everyone about how, thanks for using this. Your donation is doubled right now. What can you give? Here's the link. And then they open it on their phone and you have a donor conversation. Sometimes people give because they've experienced an issue. A classic example for us is a crosswalk that has faded. And so it's unsafe for the kids to cross to the park. And so the park gets together and does a temporary art installation to remake the crosswalk. And the donors give because they've experienced how dangerous that crossing is, and they're happy to contribute to making it safer for the kids. Classic example, but many times people are on your list, not because they're close to you, but because they're close to the issue. So we're going to talk really quickly through 4 more pointers for how to crowdfund. The most important tool is identifying who your donors are, how you're going to ask them, and how much you're going to ask them. This plan, called the prospect chart, this plan is foundational to fundraising, whether you're crowdfunding, your end of year campaign, anything, whether you're raising volunteers, so raising time, not money. So you make a list of the people who are closest to you and you can talk to them in person. You make a list of the people who you can only talk to over the phone. Maybe they're less close, they're on your volunteer list. Some people are only going to get an email from you. And then there's a little bit of electronic mass email, social media. But the critical thing here is to learn that an in-person conversation with your eye contact and your voice, that has the highest likelihood of someone actually donating. A phone conversation is the next highest likelihood. Many times when you talk to someone on the phone, you can start with a text, a phone call, and then a second phone call to increase the chance that they will say yes the second time. A direct personal email. So, to my brother, hey, John, I need to do this because my garden is a mess and I'm just gonna raise $100 and get some mulch and fix it up. A direct personal email to someone who's pretty close to you has a high likelihood of them giving. Sometimes you have to follow up by phone. And then you can see their mass electronic communication, email, Facebook, Twitter, all the other things that are out there now. Those have a 1% donation rate. And so the truth about social media is that it's useful for storytelling. And we're going to talk about more about how to do that. It's not useful for raising donations. People give because you spoke to them. So we're going to talk about how to speak to them next, but making your list and splicing it into who can I get to in person who can I get to over the phone? And then you work down your list. We're going to talk about how to work down your list in just a minute here, but make your list first so that you're prepared, you have your plan. Wonderful. So how to ask for a donation. Another thing, if you remember nothing else from today, remember that you need to ask a number. The reason is that in donor psychology, which has been studied for 100 years, people are far more likely to say yes to a specific number than just a generalized, please support our project. The reason is that we need to imagine what we are giving to and what we can contribute. And so the best donor ask starts with, we believe in a thriving community, right? And so the example here is, we believe that art is necessary to wellness. And so here's the urgent fundraiser. We're all pitching in to fund summer art in our park. You can imagine what that looks like. That looks like kids with face painting and art running around and like anything else you want to do. Will you join us with $20 to support our neighbors? Right now it's doubled with a match program. I can tell you more about what it looks like. So the key things here are being starting with what we all believe. So they're already leaning towards yes, because they're like, yeah, I believe that too. So we're doing something about it now, the urgency. Will you join us with a dollar amount? That dollar amount lets the person say, you know what, I can't give $50, but I can give 30. You still got a yes, you still got a donation that's doubled. And then you keep the conversation open by, I can tell you more about what it'll look like. That moves them towards questions instead of an immediate, oh, I don't know, I'll take a look. So move them towards questions so you can continue the conversation. And then some people say, no, it's about 50%, right? It's fine. That's part of the process. The more no's you're getting, that means you're doing the work of engaging people so that you can get to the statistical half and half are going to be yeses. So when you're faced with a no, sometimes they're just asking questions and you're hearing a no, but actually they're asking questions to get to a yes. So continue the conversation and then come back around to, what do you think about $50? Because it's doubled right now to be 100. If they're unsure on how much to give, even though you set a number, you can always say, a lot of us are giving $30 because it's doubled anyway to 60. Give them an example, and we already have 50 donors who've done that, or 10 donors who've done that. Sometimes they can't give, so ask them to be on the team still, be an ally by texting a few friends. And honestly, when someone donates or not, who are 5 people, who are 10 people, you could text right now about, this is happening in our neighborhood, check it out, I just donated. And so that's the crowdfunding, is your conversations telling their people about the opportunity to contribute to something amazing in the neighborhood. If they're just not bought in, oh well, ask them what they want to see next time, because then they stay involved in your community group, in your outreach list, so that they're on the list for next time because you listen to them. One more here, number 5. This is all based in relational organizing. So I'm going to very briefly touch on these 4 stages of any donor campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, because you have made your list. You've decided on your very specific story. You are getting a little comfortable with, if I hear a no, this is how I'm going to treat it. So how do you start? You start with the announcement to your very closest people, and we're just going to do a quick 1, 2, 3, 4 down these 4 stages. So your announcement is to your easy, safe friends and family. This is where you're learning how to ask for money out loud. So like I said, my brother, my best friends, like I know they're going to say yes. And so it just gets me used to saying it out loud for this project, this fundraiser. So you're getting used to saying out loud. It's awkward. So you can always text first and be like, hey, I'm doing this, this community event. I'd like to talk with you about it because I have to get a few first donors. That way your friends don't feel awkward when you say, hey, I need to talk to you about donating. And then the next one, please. After you have some money in the bucket, you have some proof in the pudding that people are already excited and already donating, then you send out your mass celebration email to your entire list. Then you say, hey, Facebook friends, I'm doing this, and we already have 10 donors. But they're not going to give because they saw that email or phone call or Facebook. They're going to give when you follow up and talk to them. So when you talk to them, you're picking out the next warmest people. So you started with your definite yeses. Now you're going to your probably yeses. So you're still not in the 50-50 range. You're talking to the people who are comfortable, they're warm, they probably already are going to get on board. They just need you to tell them that you're doing this fundraiser and donations are doubled. And then the next phase, this is when you're around 50% through your fundraiser. You've talked to your easy people, your warm people. Now you're in the 50-50 in your list. So you're looking at the part of your list that it's 50-50, but they have some reason for you to talk to them. They know you, they know your teammates, they know the park, they volunteer once a year. This is where you use positive peer pressure. We already are halfway there. We believe in this, and so we're doing something about it. Join us right now with $40 because it's doubled. I can tell you what it looks like. And then these are the people you use peer pressure by thanking them on social media after they donate. And the secret is that that hits their feed so that their friends see it and you might get a little more interest. And then the last phase here, perfect. We'll just skip to this. People cannot donate unless you ask them. And so this is about making your list of who you'll ask, prioritizing, moving from hot to warm to maybe, and then making sure you're connecting over a purpose, the urgency, a dollar amount, and that it's doubled. So you have to ask them. You can't just send an email or social media. And here's why. We're going to talk about the truth of social media to close this curriculum today. So the truth about social media is that it creates buzz by telling a story or thanking donors publicly. It's a way for you to say, we are so excited about what our park is going to do this summer for young people because we believe that art is part of a thriving future. And so we're going to make an art program. We're just going to do it ourselves. We already have 30 donors. Check it out over here. It gets people to see what you're doing before you directly ask them one-on-one with a text, a phone call, or a visit. Social media is not great for asking for donations because of that truth that 1% of people who see your post actually donate. People are much better at saying, oh, I'm so glad you're doing that. They have to be asked to realize that they're part of making it happen. They're doing it with you. So we'll close there for crowdfunding for today. We are here for you to teach, and we're going to learn about how this program can double your donations with ioby. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. I just want to say that every time I hear you go through the whole spiel about fundraising, it is really motivational. So, I hope everybody who's watching this is feeling motivated and just sees how great it is to work with ioby in order to actually accomplish your fundraising goals. So with that idea of feeling very motivated, let's talk about your Green Fund Crowdfunding Challenge eligibility. So in order to be eligible for this crowdfunding challenge, the applicants need to be a 2020, 2021, or 2022 NYC Green Fund grant recipient and have an operating budget of 50,000 or less. So that should be all of you watching today. So, just want to reiterate that this is a really unique opportunity to do additional fundraising beyond what you just received from the Green Fund. Eligible projects must provide a public benefit, B, be a small scale physical improvement, or C, a health and wellness program in an NYC, in an open space in NYC. So, that very much mirrors what the eligibility criteria was for when you applied for the Green Fund grant itself. That is the most up-to-date, so 2022 eligibility. And so, funds may not be aimed at making private profit for a specific individual, family, or business entity. And in the NYC open spaces that are eligible, that includes parks, community gardens, street trees, green streets, NYCHA communities, plazas, and water bodies. And just a look at what are some examples of projects that you could do for your crowdfunding challenge. You had composting, you have youth ambassador leadership, you have working in your community gardens, helping to regrow, planting native gardens in parks. There really is a wide variety of things that you could accomplish with this crowdfunding challenge. And so what we're looking for So when you are applying and thinking through like what project am I going to do, here are some things to think about. We really love to see when you engage or a project that's being led by residents of the neighborhood where the space is actually located. We want it to be a feasible project, legal. That is, I mean, that's always what we're looking for, no matter what we're doing, and likely to be implemented within 6 months of when the campaign closes. So when I say when the campaign closes, I mean when you have raised the funds that you are working towards. And projects that require, so one really important thing is that projects do require approval from the land management agency, and that approval should happen before fundraising begins. So in between when you apply and when you start fundraising, there's that time when we need to make sure that everything is actually approved in order to do that fundraising. Because if you fundraise for something that you inevitably can't do, then you've wasted your time, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, it's good to have approval. You have to be specific and concrete. So the projects can be a continuation of your Green Fund grant or can be a brand new project. We won't consider anything that's regarding general operating support. And ioby crowdfunding campaigns must include a detailed budget outlining how funds will be spent. Eligible expenses include any costs required to implement a specific project, including but not limited to food and other event costs, event permit fees, advertising and marketing, materials and equipment, tools and field supplies, safety supplies, that can be personal protective equipment, gloves, etc. You can put these funds towards educators or instructors or intern stipends. It can go towards travel and transportation, contracted services, and consultant fees. And then some things that we don't fund. So we don't fund overhead costs such as staff pay, rent, utilities, or general liability insurance without a planned public program or specific project. So that's what I mean when I say general liability. If it's like event specific insurance, then that's different. But if it is just general liability insurance, we can't cover the general liability insurance. An event that will not be open to the general public or does not happen in a park, community and garden, or open space, that also is not uh, fundable. And also it has to be a free program. So if something is ticketed or whatever it might be, that is also not fundable. It can't be a major capital construction project. I mean, the approval process for that is a long and winding road, so it definitely can't happen. We can't fund the cost of producing fundraising events because these should not be fundraising events, nor materials that will be sold for profit. Why participate in this challenge? So again, this is a really unique opportunity that we're offering to you to not only build upon the funds that you received through the Green Fund grant, but to work with ioby in helping to really build yourself up as fundraisers for the work that you're aiming to accomplish. And you can apply these new funds to be a part of a continuation of your NYC Green Fund grant. You can use these funds for a new program. And it's a great opportunity, again, to try crowdfunding and receive guidance from experts, because they really know what they're doing over at ioby. So where do I apply? So the link is on our website. So, on our grants page on the cityparksfoundation.org website, there will be an application button just like what you see right here. And, we will provide that information, kind of as a follow-up in addition to this presentation that we'll be sending out. So some quick application notes when you are actually sitting down and applying. We highly suggest completing the application in one sitting because you aren't able to save your progress and return later. One thing that I like to do whenever I'm submitting any sort of application, and I know that I can't save my work on the website, and I suggest to all of you, is to type and save your responses in a separate document and then copy and paste them into the application. It's also can be nicer to look at when it's in like a Word document as opposed to just like an application online. So I highly suggest that. And just an overview of what the actual crowdfunding challenge application looks like. You know, it is very similar to the Green Fund grant application where we ask for your organization's purpose, your mission, your history, your connection to the public space and to the community. We ask you to describe the community served, what needs you're aiming to address, and the challenges that your group is facing in meeting those needs. So I would say that's the most similar part. Of course, this application is a lot shorter than applying for the grant. And so we'll ask you what your fundraising goals are. You know, how much are you realistically looking to fundraise through this crowdfunding? What is the timeline that you need the funds? And so those are important factors to consider when you're talking about your project idea. So we really want to know like what you're looking to do with this project. How does it serve your neighborhood? What kind of physical improvements or benefits towards health and wellness are you trying to make? Are you applying for your NYC Green Fund grant awarded project or a new project? Has your project received approval from the land management agency? And I include all these questions because it's really important that we see that you've thought through not only your project idea, but how it's going to happen. And that goes back to the feasibility of whether or not this project is possible and something that you can fundraise for. How do I get approved for the crowdfunding challenge? So Partnerships for Parks, aka my team, will confirm that your project idea fits within the eligibility criteria that I just outlined and discuss the legalities or permit requirements for your project with the appropriate staff, with the appropriate park staff, or sorry, whatever land management agency. And then you will be notified if your project is approved for match funding. And then once you are 100% approved, that is when you can start fundraising. And so here's just a look at what one of the project pages is, just to see that when you do get to that stage where you can actually start fundraising, this is an example of what your fundraising page would look like on ioby's website. So, and just to outline a few of the items that are included on this project page. So you have that project description, which is a really great way for you to describe just what it is that you're trying to do, what your organization is. You know, this is just trying to like talk up your work and explain to people in a nice little paragraph why they should support you and this project. And then it's really cool to just be able to see how much funds you've actually raised so far. And, you know, once you get 100% funded, you get a little check mark funded icon there as well. And then, you know, a look at the kind of different fundraising amounts that you can request from people. Like Miriam had mentioned, if you ask people to donate, it's always nice to give them like a number amount that they could potentially fundraise. Like, you know, any amount that you have listed out here, people donating can look at it and just think, oh, wow, that $25 is now 50. So that's always really exciting to see.
And Kelly, I just want to say that
Yeah.
that funded decision there, that's the collaborator's decision. So if you've raised
Okay.
$4,600 and you say, you know what, we've talked to all our donors, we're done. And that 4,600 is actually 2,300 from your donors that's been doubled along the
Mm-hmm.
way. If you say, you know what, we're done crowdfunding, that's your decision. IOB, with IOB, you keep what you raise, you decide your goal, you decide your timeline, and you tell us when you're ready to cash out.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for adding that point. Okay, and then so I just wanted to also mention specifically what the approval process looks like. So, you know, I was just talking about submitting the application. So, I mean, I put just kind of big timeline for what it might look like. I mean, submitting application, like that timeline is really dependent on you and getting that project idea together and of course typing up that application. But I would say, it could take like 2 to 3 weeks for you to kind of really think through all of that. I mean, if you already like know exactly what you want to propose, then it could take a week or something, but just give yourself that time to really think through what you want to propose for your crowdfunding challenge. And then the application approval, again, that goes back to like whether or not this project that you're proposing would be approved by the given land management agency that manages the open space you're working in. So, if you've been in discussions with like Parks Department staff and they have an idea that you're looking to do this, approval process could take a week. But if, you maybe haven't been in touch with them, which is totally fine, like you don't have to necessarily be in touch with that land management agency. But if you aren't, it could take some more time just to think through like the feasibility and think about permitting and those sort of things. So it could take 3 weeks. And then once you are crowdfunding, so this is actually the work where you're doing that fundraising, it could take 3 to 6 months. If you're really prepared, I feel like it would take 3 months. But yeah, it definitely takes a few months to actually do that fundraising. And then transferring the funds to your fiscal sponsor. City Parks Foundation could be your fiscal sponsor, or there are different options that you could do for fiscal sponsorship. That could take between 2 and 4 weeks to get those funds actually transferred to the fiscal sponsor. And at that point, you can actually start spending the funds and doing the work.
And Kelly, I would just want to add that some people crowdfund in 3 to 6 weeks. Some
Oh,
people
wow.
take only 60 days. It's
Yeah.
up to planning. And so, what we talked about today about planning your crowdfunding campaign, maybe that's something you do while you're waiting on your application to be reviewed. And then you just
Yeah.
get going, take a month or two. Because I know we're coming into the holiday season where a lot of folks
Hmm.
can fundraise a little faster than like the January, February. That tends to be a little slower.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so timeline. So the program duration. So we're aiming to have this run from November 7th until May 8th, 2023, unless otherwise noted by Partnerships for Parks or ioby. So the application deadline is on a rolling basis until funding runs out. But it's definitely good, like especially like Miriam just mentioned with the holidays coming up, right at November 7th, within those first few weeks, like you're going into the end of November and into December, like that's absolutely a good time to do fundraising. So I would say that, keeping that motivation up for your group and with just reaching out to donors, definitely trying to apply as soon as possible is the way to go. Um, and then review process. So application review and ioby crowdfunding campaign setup typically takes at least a month. Therefore, we recommend that you apply to the NYC Green Funding Challenge at least 1 month prior to launching your Green Fund campaign. So you definitely just want to give yourself that time to expect those things. Um, and then, so just for FAQ, so we do have a comprehensive list of these FAQs on our website, on the page where the grant application lives. So that is something that you can look back to, but just want to go through some specific questions that we've seen come up as we've been doing this crowdfunding challenge over the last few years. So first question, what if my project is small and I don't need the full 2,500 of match funding? That's totally fine. You still participate with a lower fundraising goal that fits the scale of your project. For example, if you only need $800 to implement your project, build an ioby crowdfunding campaign with a goal of $800 and work to fundraise $400 from your community, which will be doubled as you fundraise. What if I don't meet my goal? Well, we want everyone to be successful, and ioby's training materials and one-on-one support are intended to give you and your team everything you need to pick an appropriate fundraising goal that you can meet. However, with ioby's flexible finish policy, you can always keep what you raise even if you fall short of your original goal. So whatever you fundraise, you get to keep. If I'm approved for match funding, am I guaranteed to receive the maximum support? No, this is a crowdfunding match, not a grant. Your team needs to raise $1 to receive $1, and no amount of match funding is guaranteed in advance. Funds will be distributed on a first come, first served basis to all participating campaigns so that funding flows towards projects with the most urgent funding needs and active teams. So I just wanted to say, how on a previous slide I mentioned that the timeline is to apply on a rolling basis. So another reason to apply, as soon as you have that idea, really keep that momentum going, is that these funds are not guaranteed. If I apply and am not accepted into the program, can I apply again? Yes, you can apply again. While applications are reviewed on a first come, first served basis, first time applicants will be prioritized in the review. So maybe you apply and your project just needs to be thought around a bit, or maybe the project that you started off applying with isn't approved, so you need to switch gears to something that would be approved. We definitely want to try to work with you. When will I receive match funding? Once you've been approved, you'll be connected to ioby, at which point you will work on creating a campaign page. Once your campaign launches and you begin fundraising, donations to your ioby crowdfunding campaign will be doubled instantly as people donate to your page. Once I'm done crowdfunding, how do I receive the funds? So when you decide to close your campaign, your ioby success strategist will help you with the disbursement process. You'll receive the total you raised plus any match applied as one lump sum minus ioby's super low fee of 3%. Please allow 2 weeks from closing your campaign to the disbursement of your funds to the appropriate entity. So if you are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, you can receive the funds directly. If you have an external fiscal sponsor, your fiscal sponsor will receive the funds. If you do not have either of these, you can seek fiscal sponsorship from ioby, which includes an additional 5% admin fee. Find a fiscal sponsor on your own or use City Parks Foundation. Do I need to be a 501c3 nonprofit to participate in this program? No, you do not need to be a nonprofit organization to participate. This fundraising opportunity is open to all NYC Green Fund grantees, regardless of your group status. However, for ioby to disperse the funds, they need it to send it to another nonprofit organization. Thus, what I just mentioned about fiscal sponsorship in the previous slide. They will not be able to disperse the funds if you do not have a fiscal sponsor or are not a 501c3. If this applies to you, your options could be, again, to find an external fiscal sponsor, which is a nonprofit organization who will receive the funds on your behalf. You can have ioby serve as the fiscal sponsor with an additional 5% administration fee, or City Parks Foundation can serve as a fiscal sponsor for the duration of your project. So again, fiscal sponsorship is how you receive the funds, unless you're a 501c3. And that is the presentation. Just want to say thank you to everyone who watched this, and I really hope that you apply, and we are here to work with you. This is our opportunity to give to you to help with your fundraising, and just continuing to build yourselves up as a group, and see the things that you want to see in your parks, or just open space, open green space. And for all program administration, please reach out to us at this email, which is nycgreenfund@cityparksfoundation.org. And yeah, Miriam, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Thank you. Only that ioby is always here, regardless of this program or
Mhm.
any match programs. We are always here to teach crowdfunding for any crowdfunding goal, as long as it's not for private profit.
Yeah.
So come to us anytime, ioby.org. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you all so much, and have a good day.